Ladies and gentlemen, what it do? What it do? What it do? Give me 1 second. If I sound different, it's because your boy's feeling a bit under the weather. So hopefully I can bring you guys the energy that I typically come with. Uh, are we good? Yeah, looks like we're good. Hopefully we won't have any issues as we're going through the stream. But announcements first and foremost before we really get started. Generally speaking, I do this every week, but I have to make some adjustments, and I'm letting you guys know this just because I'm sure this is only going to be temporary. Before I go ahead and it's only going to be temporary before I go back to my original schedule, but I think my bad. What is up with this? My bad. Give me 1 second. All right, I'm just gonna fix this later. I mean, it's gonna bug me, but just before I got rudely cut off, just want to let everyone know next week probably won't be here. I'm thinking we're gonna do the stream as the real estate doesn't really. There's not much that's really going on in real estate in terms of updates and news. So we're gonna dim it down to twice a month, every second and last month of the what today's Wednesday of Wednesday that we're gonna be here tapped in. I always make sure to let you guys know. You'll see it on my stream. I always make sure to add the if you go to the live tab, you'll see that whether it's scheduled or not. I'll keep you guys informed as much as possible. But let's roll right into what we need to discuss today because quite a few things that we're gonna have to discuss. But I really want you guys all to know what trends to really look at, what look for, because this is one of those markets where, oops, sorry, things are changing on a regular basis. So it's important that you understand and know what the heck to look at, what to look for, because you can and may get confused with whatever it is that you see and what somebody else is promoting. But let me go ahead and pull this up so that we can go through the market because you guys can see what's happening. It should be at no surprise that this spring market, as I mentioned on previous streams before, it is a lot different, at least for me, that I'm experiencing. It's a lot different than what it typically is. And if that's, of course, high interest rates, high in relative to what everyone's used to, right? From 2020. A lot of people I speak to, they're like, high, what is high about this? I mean, we all have those individuals and those stories of people who said, like, yeah, back in the 80s when rates were, yeah. That's not where we're at right now. But high in terms of what people are generally used to. Of course, prices as well is really hurting individuals. And here, oops, excuse me, before I moved so fast. There you kind of get an idea of what interest rates are really at. Again, this it between that range is really just anything between 6 and 7. That's the range that it's been for, I would say, for like a year now, right? A year or a year and a half or so. It's been in there. But I think this is interesting, right? This right here. So 72% of Americans believe that now it's a bad time to buy a home. So if you feel the same, please let me know in the comments. I'm genuinely curious who feels as if right now is a terrible time to be buying. Because I will say it's only a terrible time to be buying depending on your circumstances. Because now could be a better time. And I'm not saying it's just because I'm biased, right? I'm a realtor, so you're probably like, okay, well, this guy's a realtor. He just wants to sell. Yeah. This is probably the only time that I've actually seen not even sales, but as much inventory as we're seeing today. Not only that, but sellers are actually giving you concessions and they may not be, as friendly as you would like, but they're at least willing to do something on your behalf. So, that's why I say, yeah, you can look at it and say it's a terrible time, but I think it's truly indeed going to depend on what your goals are, what financial situation are you in, right? Maybe you're not in the best of the best financial situation, so it might not be the best time. But as I mentioned, inventory growth as well has played a factor in this all. Maybe I shouldn't go. Yeah, who cares? Because you guys weren't able to see that picture. Yeah, that man's stressed out. But here's the price trends of what's been going on. Let me go ahead and go back out. So up here, I don't know if you can see that. My bad. I should have definitely updated that, but that's at 450, right? And this is using the United States, so this is not this is not in retrospect to any specific area. In fact, it's the entire United States as a whole. And so if we're looking at it, this is back in October of 2024. Again, something you can't see, so my apologies on that. But October of 24, as you can see, the entire price has been sideways. And honestly, I think we're going to see this for quite some time. I don't think we're going to see a immediate drop, but who knows? What do I know, right? I'm just here on YouTube trying to share with you what's going on, or at least what I see. In October 24, fourth is at 434,000, and this is using the median. I should have been clear on that, right? The median price of homes in the United States. So then we looked at in November 24 is at 430,000, and we're in December it was 427,000. Right, so you get the gist, right? And I would say right now where we're at as of March of 2025, we're at 430,000. So again, it's going to be like a lot of back and forth sideways action. I don't really see much really changing for the near dear future, I will say. But we shall see. Oh, look at that. I think I just didn't click on it. You see, you can see the 450 now. See, I wasn't BSing you. Let's scroll down. See, I wasn't. But you guys can see. It's going sideways the entire way. And as I mentioned, this is something that, of course, we talked about in the past, right? But knowing what's going on in your market inventory wise is huge because what's going on here in the South is completely different. What's going on in the Northeast. And it's even, it could say the same thing for the Midwest and we could say the same thing for the West, right? So all these different areas, all these different regions, they're all going to have their own market, right? That's why real estate is extremely, extremely local. That's why, yes, I can share with you what's going on the big scale, right? What's going on and bringing you information and just sharing with you what's going on in terms of what I see globally going on in the United States. But I think it's still truly indeed important to understand what's going on in your local market or at least the market that you're looking in. And if you don't know how to look at that information and you need to be connected to a real estate agent, just reach out to me. Let me know. I'll connect you with one that can help you out. But every region here, as you guys are gonna see, is it's going to have their own problem, I should say, right? That's going on there. Right here in the South, we can see highest inventory growth with 25% year over year increase. I do know that some places in the South they have already surpassed their pre-pandemic levels, so that's pretty scary. Um, and I think in the last stream we talked about this. If you want me to bring that up again, just let me know in the comments or however you want to let me know, and I'll go ahead and share that with you. But it's you should have seen that one. But the Midwest is lowest inventory growth at 12% year over year. The West strong inventory growth 22% year over year. Northeast moderate inventory growth at 15%. So I would say pay attention a little bit more to if you're in the West, South, or even Midwest. Maybe not so much Midwest. It seems like Midwest is they're pretty stable. They're doing pretty well out there. But I will say the South and the West seems like they're growing in terms of inventory, and I'm saying that because I already know too. They're growing in terms of inventory, so that's a really good trend that you want to keep track of because more inventory means more options. You get to actually make your decision, right? You could take your time making a decision on which home. May even be able to get some bargaining tips, right? Or concessions for closing costs, or even concessions for repairs or something of that nature that you do come across. Don't say I didn't tell you. And this is if this is a perfect transition because I almost forgot about the builder incentives as well, right? So if we're seeing inventory growth, and that's a part of it too. So not only are we going to see inventory growth in terms of existing and resale, but the new builds as well, even though they treat themselves entirely different. New builds are going to start. I mean, they have already been doing it, but I'm pretty sure they're going to ramp it up a bit more if things still don't start to look good. But builders incentives, even if you don't want to look at the inventory levels or anything of that nature, if you have builders in your area that you are looking to shop in, please just go look at to see what offers that they're offering. You'll be quite you may be surprised, right? I can't guarantee that they're gonna even have offers that is going to be as compelling as some that I've seen. I mean, I'm seeing now they're as you can see, rate buy downs, right? So they're buying down rates. Some of them are just offering permanent rates at like 4 or 5%. They're offering closing costs. I didn't see anything in terms of crazy. I used to see a lot of like 10K closing costs. Now I don't really see those as much. Now it's like about 5 to 7,000. Let's just say some places are even willing to cover your entire closing costs. So there's a lot of things that are out there in terms of fee upgrades. You know that I don't know too much about that. I think it's definitely going to be based on the builder and where they're at in the stages of building. But I personally would not be too crazy about trying to go after free upgrades, right? Because again, those upgrades can be something very minimal. Sure, if it's maybe countertops, if they're gonna gut the entire kitchen out and put new what's it called cabinets, then maybe it'd be worth it, right? But chances are, if they're offering you free upgrades, that home is not even constructed yet. You don't even know what it's gonna look like. They're just showing you the model plan, and they're gonna allow you to operate off of that. So, personally speaking, go after the money because then that way you can put the money into your pocket and you can operate with that. So here's the buyer sentiment analysis. So this is kind of how people feel. And as you can see, and as of 2023, 55% of people said, America specifically said it was a bad time. 65 said it's still a bad time in 2024. And again, for a third year in, well, one, two, three, yep, third row in a year, third row, third year in a row. And that number is actually increasing, right? Americans still feel like it's a bad time. So, the question now becomes, when is a good time? Please let me know in the comments. When do you believe is a good time to get into real estate? Because 2020, I think everybody was screaming, real estate, real estate, real estate. Now it's stay away from it. I think in what I don't remember. I think in 20, I'm not gonna even try to remember what I was about to say here. But when is a good time? I'm genuinely curious because how would you know when is a good time? And I think that's the part that trips me up. It's like, when is a good time? Generally speaking, I feel like if you are ready and you're prepared and you have all your ducks in a row, you're ready to rock and roll, then you're good. But out of curiosity, please share with me in the comments if you're doing it on the replay. Let me know when is a good time to buy real estate because I'm genuinely curious to hear what you guys have to say on when's a good time. Maybe you know something that I don't know. And here are some of the things that are impacting the real estate market. A lot of stuff out of our control. The only thing that I would say you could really pay a lot of attention to, or at least you can make the difference or impact, is of course inflate. No, not inflation, but wage growth. So how much you bring in, that's definitely going to impact and allow you to make different moves, whether it's positive or negative, right? Depending on that, is definitely going to be one of those things that you have to factor in terms of where your next step is. But um, in retrospect to this, if you want to know what trend that you can look at here, you can just listen to the federal chairman Jerome Powell speak. I mean, if he remains in that position, I should just say the federal chairman, because who knows how long he's gonna be there with all that back and forth that they got going on over there. But seeing what he has going on, or at least what that individual has going on with interest rates, they don't set the mortgage rates, but generally speaking, they kind of set the tone for what it may be in the future or what mortgage rates may look like later. So if they're constantly increasing, just know that mortgage rates will probably increase as well. But if they're starting to cut, then that means mortgage rates may come down. And that's just what the Federal Reserve is setting the interest rate to be at, whatever number that they decide or whatever it is, right? Of course, I mentioned supply and demand, which is inventory. Supply being inventory and demand, of course, being the buyers. But right now, as we all know, there's not many buyers right there out there right now, based off of the sentiment that we just saw, right? 72% of Americans think right now is a bad time. So what do I know? But the first time buyer outlook. So I think we're gonna, and this is just kind of what you can read here as well, but I think we're gonna continuously experience difficult times. And I think the longevity of it's here for a while. And the only reason why I say that is because I think the last time I read it, it was like we're short 3 to 4 million homes, and they're like anticipating that's gonna take 7 years to. There's an article out there with Realtor.com posted. I think it's gonna take like 7 years for it to go back to that level of where it's the United States isn't short 3 or 4 million homes, 3 to 4 million homes. So I think the current challenges of high rates, maybe not so much high rates at some point in time, but I think prices being still elevated. I personally think that can remain. This is just my opinions, because the only way prices are going to come down is if everybody decides to sell at the same time. And not everybody's going to do that, because there's some people that are like, why would I sell? Literally. I have conversations like that a lot. Individuals saying, why would I sell my home? Like, where am I going to go next? Right? Because everybody's aware, if you sell your home now, depending on whatever you bought it at, you're probably going to leave to go buy a smaller one at a higher price. So it's like, what sense does that really make? But mid-year potential, right? So possible rate cuts, we'll see. I don't want to throw it out there and say like, this is a guarantee, but that's a possibility. I mean, we have June is literally right around the corner, right? And that's the summer market that we're about to enter in. So that could be a pretty good time and interesting time to really pay attention to what the federal chairman does in terms of interest rates. Does he actually start to cut? And if he does, are they aggressive or are they like really small? But if you don't want to look at that, just tap in here. And then 9 times out of 10, I'm going to inform you what's going on so that you can prepare yourself. If you're not already preparing yourself, don't wait until the damn thing happens to start preparing yourself. My bad, my bad. But that's one of the things that irks me. People will reach out to me and then be like, hey, I'm ready. And it's like, okay, cool. Let's go ahead and let's get yourself pre-qualified and do this and then the third. And like, I already found the home that you want. It's like, but we have these little small steps that we have to do before we get that home. And it's like, man, by the time we finish, hopefully that home is still there. But yeah, nah, chances are it's gonna be gone. I can't say that. But don't wait to the moment to be prepared. So a lot of economic uncertainty, as we all know. I mean, the trade deal, sounds like they're making a little progress there. So maybe it's not as uncertain as we all may anticipate or think. But with all the uncertainties, it's just going to be a lot of mortgage rates are still going to be high. So don't bank on that. I'll tell you that, especially if you're trying to refinance. If you're trying to refinance, know what you are doing when you're refinancing it. In fact, hey, let me do a solo take right here, because I have to share this. If you are trying to refinance, one, you should be refinancing it and lowering your rate, okay? Not increasing it. Number one. And the reason why I'm saying that is because, man, I had the conversation with someone and they were like, yeah, I'm trying to refinance. I was like, what's your rate? And they told me, I was like, why would you refinance? So I guess it's just, lack of knowledge. And this is why we do what we do, right? To bring you that information, to let you know, like, don't refinance and increase your rate. Refinance to reduce it. And in fact, if you're going to reduce it, I heard from someone very, very, very far away tell me if you're going to reduce it, at least make it 2 percentage points. So if you have, let's just say if you're at a 6 interest rate right now, right, a 6% interest rate, you at least want to get as close as possible to 4. If not, you want to be in the 4 for it to make it worth you refinancing it, because there are costs that does come with refinancing it. So if you're just going to shave off, a quarter of a percent. So if your interest rate is at 6% and then you're trying to refinance to 5.75, that's not going to really do anything for you, right? Because you essentially, when you refinance, you want that refinancing to make the dent. You want it to make the difference in terms of what it is that you're even looking to do, which is, I would assume, to lower your costs, right? To lower your mortgage. But don't find yourself in that position or situation where now you're going to refinance and you're not really making that dent. Like, come on. When I was told that, I said, man, please save yourself that stress, man. Oh man, I don't have the right. Give me 1 second. Mhm. No, where is it? Let's do this then. Huh? You can only do it that way. That stinks. But let's go ahead and do this now. So market summary, short-term challenges, continue high rates as I mentioned, and prices will likely maintain market slowdown through the summer. There's your answer there, right? What's currently going on now, and if you are tapping in now and you didn't see, right? Prices are really going sideways. That's what we've been seeing, at least in real estate, at least for the right now, right? We'll see what eventually the future holds, but midterm adjustments, potential Fed rate changes, and builder incentives may stimulate. I don't know so much about the Fed rate changes. We'll see what happens there. I'll let you know as much as possible when I get even updates, which you guys can all get the updates too. But builder incentives, so that is something if you're looking just whenever you're driving and you see a builder sign that's like new homes or whatever the case may be, just drive to see. They'll have signs all over the community of stating what their offer is. If they don't and it's during business hours, then you could probably go and knock on the front door and hopefully the salesperson doesn't bombard you and piss you off enough to the point where you're like, all right, I don't want to do that ever again. But I think it's worth a 5 minute conversation. It's like, hey, what incentives are you guys offering now? And find your way to get the heck out of there just because you want to see and get a sense of what's really happening and what incentives are out there to see. Can they even fulfill your needs? If you want a list of incentives that are being offered here in the North Carolina area, specifically the Triangle in Raleigh, I can provide that for you. I can't do it for the entire United States because I don't have that data or that information to do so. But go ahead and just reach out to me, drop it in the comments. I don't know, find a way to get in touch with me and get a hold of me so I can go ahead and send that over to you. But the long term opportunities, increasing inventory and possible rate stabilization could improve conditions by year end. Yeah, that's nice and all. Doesn't really say much because we're already experiencing prices increase. Well, not prices, inventory increase, and prices stabilizing. So that's really not new news, at least for me. But let's go ahead and take a deep dive into what top trends and that you should really be eyeing. As we know, mortgage rates they're kind of be, stabilizing. Pay attention to rate buy downs, and I mean you can look at adjustable rates, but if you're not savvy enough to handle it and keep up with everything, then I would say, hey, stay clear of it. Just go the safe route, and hopefully later you have an opportunity to refinance. But I was speaking to a mortgage lender not too long ago. He's like, yeah, they're doing a lot of ARM mortgages, adjustable rate, because what they're doing is they're offering a 5.5. So for the first 5 years, it stabilizes and then it changes. And then for the next 5 years, it changed. Well, no, sorry. Let me rephrase this, right? For the first 5 years, it's one rate. And then for the after that 5 years is up, it's going to change, and that's what it's going to be for an additional 5 years. So it changes every 5 years essentially. I could have just said that, and maybe hopefully you guys understood that. You also have that one, and then they're going to have a 5.1. So every place is going to offer something different. But this loan officer was specifically talking to me about the arm that they were offering, which was a 5.5, and he said a lot of people were grabbing that one because it was a little less, right? In terms of interest rates, what they're offering at the current time, in comparison what a fixed mortgage rate would be. But ooh, that's also one of those things where if you're not savvy, you don't pay attention to it, or you don't have somebody that's near you that can guide you, assist you. Sure, you can lean on your realtor, but I mean, you really want somebody that's going to, keep you on top of this because you don't want yourself to get caught in a position where you could have refinanced, but you didn't know, and now you're like stuck in a limbo. So that's why I said just keep track of it because if there is an opportunity to refinance, you want to take advantage of that. And I personally would say take advantage of that and get out of it. Here's some regional market data, right, or information at least, because again, I can't necessarily help you everywhere, but the Northeast rising prices and competitive bidding, right, is continuing. And as of last month, I could say this is a real statement because I've helped someone relocate from Connecticut to North Carolina, and literally, I think his home was on the market for a weekend before they got an offer, and that offer came above list price too. So it was a win-win for him for sure. But that's not every place that's going to be like that because, as you guys can see, the Sun Belt, specifically Texas, as well, price corrections, right? Increased inventory, builder incentives. Those are all opportunities to get the buyers to start, purchasing, like yourself. Are we in a buyer's versus seller's market? That's going to truly indeed depend on where you are located and what even markets that you're looking at, right? You can see a shifting balance. Areas like Galveston, Texas, is trending towards a buyer's market territory, right? In that buyer market territory, if you really care about this statistic, I don't really pay too much attention to buyer or seller market. I just look at inventory. Inventory will tell me a lot. Days on market is a beautiful, a beautiful trend to look at. A lot of times, whew, and I'm glad I said this because a lot of times I know a lot of buyers. Maybe this is you. So if this is you, please hear me out. If you see a home has been on the market for, let's say, 45 days, let me ask you, is that going to freak you out, or are you going to be like, well, okay, is it going to freak you out, or are you going to ask these questions? Are you going to be like, oh, I'm not looking at that house because it's been on the market for too long? Or are you going to be like, or what's wrong with that home? Or whatever else that you may come up with, right? 9 times out of 10, days on market is going to show you that. And that could be a bad thing, right? That the home is on the market for such a long period of time. But before you make the assumption and say, I'm not going to look at it, something's wrong with it, before you actually go and identify or even go look at it, you have to give yourself that opportunity to do those things. The only reason why I say that is because the longer a house has been on the market, chances are they can either be reducing their prices or it gives you an opportunity to go in and make an offer at whatever price that you want. Don't say I didn't tell you. But these are the things that you can do. Stop looking at days on market and be like, I'm not going to look at that home because it's been on the market for too long and nobody wants it. If nobody wants it, why don't you be the one to go and get it, especially at the price that you're willing to buy it at? Most people just, overlook it. And it's unfortunate, but not my house. So I'm just here to tell you what most people are doing so you don't do the same exact things. But inventory levels, if you really care about buyers versus sellers market, you really want to know, there's just no, it's like a 6 months, right? So if it's 6 months supply, that's a balanced market. Anything above that is going to be a buyer's market. Anything below 6 months of inventory is going to be a seller's market. And so when I say buyers and sellers market, I'm necessarily saying, how many homes is on the market before, all the inventory, all the homes run out. And if it's anything below six months, just know that's not good for you as a buyer. I'll just tell you that right now. I'm not even sharing my screen. My bad. And so right now, and this is, I don't want you to pay too much attention to where it's at right now because every market is different. But if we're looking at the United States as a whole, let's just say it's at 4 months, right? So we're approaching that balanced market, right, between the buyer and the seller push, but we're not there just quite yet. Give me 1 second because your boy got to blow my nose. Let's shut this off. Testing. Don't worry, don't worry. I'm still here. I don't know if you can even still hear me. Probably can. Alrighty. I just have to blow my nose. I don't think you guys want to hear that. Sorry if it's team my. And senators from builders, we know this is occurring already, so this is something that you can go ahead and tap into and look at. So I'm not going to spend that much time there. This here is something that we could really talk about, right? So not so much of a trend that I think you would want to pay attention to, but at least be aware of, and that's what's going on climate wise in the region or area that you're even looking at. Because as you guys may know, some insurance companies are trying to get out of the housing market. And I say that because they're not giving people policies, right? They're looking at it as a high risk, which means a lot of individuals are going to purchase homes and not have insurance. And unfortunately, if you have a mortgage, you need insurance. It's one of the guidelines of having a mortgage. And also, if something were to go on with that home, I would assume you would like it to be covered. So understand what you're buying, because you don't want to get caught in that situation where you're buying in an area and then next thing you know, you get your insurance premiums and it's through the roof, and you're like, okay, at that point in time, you're stuck. I mean, yeah, you can go ahead and sell, but my bad. Especially if you just bought, good luck. Good luck trying to sell. You're gonna sell at a loss, unfortunately. So that's why I'm saying, understand your area and maybe even include it into your price. Do migration patterns is another trend you can take a look at, because only reason why this is good, and this is only good if you're really trying to, I guess, this is helpful for investors more than just if you're trying to purchase. Migration is going to really tell you where are people moving to, not to follow, but more or less to make sure that your home equity is okay, right, and it's stable. It's not going to fall off off a cliff tomorrow. If everyone starts to leave a specific area, then that's not good, right? Because that means if people are leaving, that means jobs may be up next and leaving, corporations are leaving. So that's not good for the real estate market in general. I think there's three things that really real estate operates off of, which is people, jobs, and there's one more thing that I can't remember. Um, but yeah, if you want to know what this are, like the migration patterns, if you just Google, I think it's I know U-Haul does it every year. I don't remember the exact term that they named it, but it's like just Google 2025 U-Haul migration and it should pop up. I know U-Haul does it. There's a few moving companies that actually do it, and they keep the track because obviously they have the trucks to be able to manage where everybody's going to. So here are some takeaways that I definitely recommend that you guys all look at. It's research locally, like I've been saying, because every market is going to be different. Here, I can share with you what's going on nationally, but that's not going to really help you in your specific market entirely, right? Because it could be a different ball game going on there. Please, please, please factor in closing costs. Factor in all costs and not just closing costs, right? You may have down payment, you may have closing costs, you may have things in between that, right? Your deposit, your earnest money deposit, maybe your due diligence money, right? These are things, your inspection. So these are all things that are associated with, just the cost in terms of home ownership in itself, insurance, as I just touched upon. But if nothing that you see right now makes sense, then just look at what other options are out there. You heard me say a few of them already, builders being one of them. But if you don't want to lean on that, then I honestly don't know what you want to lean on in general. But I'll go ahead and share with you regionally what's going on. Maybe it's going to be some more information that you can go ahead and add to your repertoire. But let's start it with the Pacific. Nope, Midwest. Let's go all the way to the top. And I think we're there. So Midwest. So affordable housing with steady growth. That's great. Cities like Cleveland, St. Louis maintain relative stability with modest gains and steady demand. Buyer strategy. So 350,000 goes very far away in the Midwest right now. So don't sleep on it. If money is a thing, do not sleep on it. So the Pacific Northwest market traits. So inventory has increased. Inventory has increased, price remained high. Yeah, I think as long as inventory stays below, we're always going to experience this. Do-do-do, do-do-do. So regional trends: San Fran and Seattle seeing elevated inventory levels and slowing price growth. So everybody that's here, right? And if you're in this specific, I know I talked about things on a national scale, but now is your opportunity to really understand what's going on in specific regions, right? This is why I wanted to do it. I just didn't want to leave you cold out and dry. So buyer strategy. So target commuter towns outside of Seattle and Portland. Consider townhomes. It says condos here, but I'm not gonna. I don't vouch for condos. I don't vouch for it. Yeah, the thing with the condos is this: you only own the box that you live in. Real estate, you're supposed to own the land as well. So, my bad. That's why I'm not a big fan of condos because you only own the space, and the next thing you know, they got a crazy old HOA fee, and that HOA fee is like literally not covering much. But you do what you want. I mean, I don't vouch for condos. Texas and Central South opportunities. 42% of increase. So increase of inventory, of course. Current price ratio 6.3 in terms of the average salary ratio. And I just remembered I had a question about that I was supposed to do research on. It was a question that came in, and if you're watching this right now, my apologies because I did not look specifically. I had a question of in terms of man, it was in one of my videos and I was gonna bring it up here. Why can I not remember the question? Here, let me figure it out real quick. Because I want this person that may be watching, right? Okay, so it was the average salary. So very similar to what we just looked at, right? The home price to the average salary ratio. This individual said their market, which I'm not sure which market they were in, is at a 6.3, which is really odd that that's exactly what popped up right there. Maybe they're in Texas or somewhere in the central South for them to be saying that. They said it was 5.48 in 2006. It dropped to 2.74 in 2012. What the heck? That literally is like the same exact numbers that I have here. How is my market? I didn't do the numbers, so I can't tell you exactly. I can look at it, and maybe I'll get back to you on the next stream. I do want to show you guys updates though in terms of the pouring really hard out there. So I know I told you guys you can go to migration and check it out on the U-Haul by just Googling U-Haul. But actually, if you go to Redfin as well, here's another place you can. So Redfin kind of tells you where people are moving to. And this updates a little bit more frequently than the U-Haul report, which is pretty good. So you can kind of get a sense of where people are moving in and out of, which is pretty cool. All right. So I won't spend too much time here. Honestly, I would recommend if you're really curious and want to know a little bit more about the trends that's going on in real estate, just go to this page. Just literally Google United States housing market Redfin, and it will take you right here. And you can honestly do the same exact thing for your local market. So if you're in Texas, Texas housing market Redfin, it will take you to Texas page, and you can kind of get a sense of an understanding of what's going on there locally at that local level. Understanding what's going on at the local level is extremely important because then you'll have a good understanding how your offer strategy should be, as well as how quickly do you have to move on homes depending on the days on market. But let's talk about some money because I know that's what I do. So here is so this is not actually going to tell me. All right, I know this isn't going to share with me. So First National Bank. Oof, I don't know if they're everywhere. Let me see, where do they actually do business? I don't think they're everywhere in the United States. They're most likely, I want to say, southeast in Northeast or on the coast. Okay, never mind. It serves Pennsylvania, Ohio, Maryland, D.C., Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, West Virginia. At least that's what popped up right there. So if you're in any one of those markets, here's some money. Here's some money for ya. Don't say I didn't tell you. Right. So they're offering up to $5,000 of closing costs. I do know that they have some portfolio loans. I don't know if it's in every single market, so don't quote me on this one. But they even have some 100% financing where they're willing to even give out down payment assistance on top of that. So First National Bank, right? There's an opportunity there. I'm trying to find. Okay, restrictions apply. Yeah, of course. Restrictions applies to everything. Got to read the fine print. I learned this the hard way. Well, at least I didn't learn this the hard way. I know one of my buddies did though. But yes, First National Bank, they are offering down payment assistance, closing costs right now. Go get it however you can because it's out there. It would be a shame if that money was out there. Oh no, I did. I just did that. I didn't want to do that. It'd be a shame if that money was out there and no one took advantage of it. Which I honestly believe that happens more often than we can all anticipate. I'll tell you that right now. Because how many of you, show of hands, or let me know in the comments, actually take advantage or know what your down payment assistant is in your local market? Here in Carolina, we have them, right? They're willing to give you up to 15,000, right? But they're gonna treat it like another loan, a secondary loan on your property up until 15 years, where it does get forgiven. If you do anything prior to that 15 years, just know they're gonna tap your hand and say, you didn't listen to the rules, so I need my money back. I need my money back. But there was a question that I had that I want to discuss, and before I go ahead and discussing this, I'm going to add myself to the stream, um, mute myself. Alrighty. So there was a question that Brian Olsen brought up to my attention and previous streams. If you're watching right now, this is literally for you, Brian, because he mentioned his question was, well, his statement was, what the times that we're in right now is very similar to what occurred in the 1918s to the 1930s. So I said to myself, well, let me go figure out what the heck happened there, because clearly he knows something that I don't know. And so I went to my best friend Chatty to figure this out. And let's go ahead. I honestly, I looked at this and I was like, man, he has a very, very good point. I even brought this up. I had a few conversations with a few buddy of mine, and I was like, hey, what's your thoughts on this? Like, of course, we don't know what's going to occur, but like, do you think this is kind of where we're at right now? So I'll just read the summary of key events. Right, I'm just kind of going to go through it, and I'm just going to make comments as I read through it. Right, so World War One, post-war, right? So 1940 to 1920, you know, World War One spurred a lot of job creation, a lot of industrial production, fueling short-term economic growth. Okay, sounds very similar to what occurred maybe in like not so much. Anyways, not I wouldn't say 2020 because there wasn't that much job creation, right? So I think job creation really was prior to that, and then jobs got smacked. But anywho, real estate. So urban growth accelerated. There was a post-war housing boom due to returning soldiers and population migrations into cities. Okay. Inflation surge. So this is where things I'm like, is two or three out of them. I can definitely two to three out of the bullet points. Can you guys even see that? Hopefully you can. If not, here you go. You should see that with no problem now. So the 1920 inflation spike to 15 to 20%. Sounds familiar. Led to tighter monetary policy. Sounds familiar. Causing a short recession in 1920 to 21. Sounds familiar, right? So I would say this is like your 2020 right there, right? And even the urban, oh geez, even your urban growth accelerating. Woo! I am down bad. See, now this is one of those things. This is on one of those days where it's like this stream I'm gonna show later in like, see, I even performed on my sick days. The Roaring 20. So this could be where we're at right now, right? So economic expansion, right? So I mean, I'm not gonna read that because it's talking about economic expansions in different categories that I don't even think is really here today. Technology, oh, I cannot pronounce that right now. Tech, technologically, I'm not gonna even. So tech reasons, tech innovation. I don't know why that word is tripping me up right now, but tech innovations, and I mean that's really AI. Credit explosion, easy access to credit fuel consumer spending and speculative. So I don't think that part is still 2020 to me because now credit is tighter than it's ever been. It's hard to get money. In fact, most people don't even want to lend money right now because of the interest rate. And then the real estate boom. So merging. Major urban centers like Florida and California saw massive speculative boom. So I say this roaring 20s aspect that's still, to me personally, to me is 2020. Florida land boom. Yeah, I'm not gonna pay too much attention. So here we're wrapping up again, right? Based off of what he said. We're wrapping up the year, the decade in sense, and we're moving on to another decade where that was when the Great Depression arise. So, stock market crash, bank failures, real estate crash. Wow, and unemployment reached 25%. Okay, so I really wanted to share really these two pieces because I don't really see this, a depression happening. Personally speaking, I'm gonna say I don't think we're gonna experience that. I don't see it. Something in the whole world. It has to be a global thing for everything to go to shambles. But that's just my thoughts, right? That's just my thoughts and my opinions. You don't have to listen to anything that I am saying or doing or anything of that nature because sometimes I don't know what's going on in this world. I'm trying to keep up with everything just as much as you are. But let me know what questions that you guys do have because I just wanted to bring this up and kind of go through it and read along with it. I know Brian posed this question to me. I want to say like 2 weeks ago, and I forgot to touch upon it last week. So I wanted to let him know, like I saw this and I was like, wow, I can actually see the resemblance as far as what we're experiencing now. So if you really want to find out, a little bit more about what's going on in the world, or that was by mistake, my bad. Um, More or less, if you really want to figure out, how was the 1920s to the 1940s essentially. Look at that timeline to identify if it's any similar. And what's your thoughts and what's your opinion? Let us all know. But at this point in time, please, I'm going to open it up for questions if you guys do have any at this point in time. Or if you guys are going to leave me cold out and dry, then I'll give you another piece of gem. Let's just wait for the questions. And if you're on the replay, please be sure to hashtag replay to let me know that you're watching on the replay so I know that you tapped in. And so when I see your name again, then I know where you're coming from. All right. Since you guys are also so shy, this is what I would do. So I told you about inventory in specific states, right? If I pull this up, this look familiar, right? Shout out to Resi Club. They provide us with this data. Let me zoom in. If this does not look familiar, that means you haven't watched my stream either enough, or you missed it, or you just left for whatever apparent reason. So this here is important, and I will say I will make sure to bring this to you, all of your attentions on a monthly basis, because this is here going to show you inventory and how does inventory look in every single state. Again, I can tell you what's going on in North Carolina, but I cannot tell you what's going on in every single other state. I'm not traveling to these states and caring. I honestly don't care about what's going on in every other state in terms of real estate, to be quite honest, because that's not the state I can do business in. Maybe when I get licensed, or if I ever get licensed in any of these other states, then I'll start to care a little bit more. But at this point in time, no, that's not my expertise. I stay in my lane and just trying to navigate everything that's going on here in North Carolina. So, and then of course read what's going on nationally. But this here shows you the inventory, and like I mentioned earlier, I don't remember when I said it or what I was even talking about, but pre-pandemic. So anything you see in this green area, this green box, what would you say, green, teal, whatever it is, any state that you see here has more inventory than it had prior to the 2020 pre-pandemic, right? Which is not good. Which means every single one of these markets could either be close to balance, at balance, or maybe in a buyer's market, right? It all depends, right? But every single one of these areas we're talking about, Idaho, Texas, Florida, Tennessee, Arizona, Washington, Utah, Colorado, Hawaii, none of them are in a seller's market anymore. You can write that off immediately. So if you're trying to sell a home in any one of these markets, or someone trying to sell a home in one of these markets, they are getting beat the heck down right now. And as a buyer, go get yourself a bargain. Go get yourself a deal right now. Although 72% of you all say that right now is a really, really bad time to buy a home, but I'm still curious. If you think, now is still a bad time to buy a home, please let me know in the comments why. Why do you feel such a way? But every other state I did not mention, right? They're all below your pre-pandemic level. So let's just say all of these areas are still going to be in sellers market for the most part, right? They're probably closer as you start to rise, you get closer to that balance, maybe even buyer's market. But right now, no, we're not. We're all these other areas. Let's just say inventory is being suppressed, and as low as they are not in that market. In that they're not in that buyer's market. So you may not be able to get a deal here. Yeah, there goes North Carolina for you. Let me know what questions you guys have, if any. Because boy, am I going through it right now. If you guys don't have any questions, then I might just dip out a little earlier. To be quite honest. You guys have anything? Let me see if I had anything in my notes that I can bring to you. In the meantime, while we wait for maybe some questions to come through. Because this is your time. This is your time to shine. I don't think I told you guys where to go to if you guys need my assistance. You should be able to. You can either look in the description below or just go to my website that I have somewhere on YouTube. And just make sure you fill out that whole form, the contact form, so that way we can get in touch. If you don't want to go ahead and share your question here, because I understand. I used to be that kid that never really raised his hand. I used to be that kid that sat all the way in the back, and I'll probably fool around, or I won't even raise my hand, right? If I didn't understand something, I'll just tell myself I'll figure it out later. So if you're that, I get it. I get it. But we talked about a lot, right? We talked about what trends you should really pay attention to. Just to recap, pay attention to mortgage rates. You can't pay attention to home prices, but right now, I don't think home prices are really going to do much. I think home prices are really, if anything, going to go sideways for quite some time. But you may see prices to start to change if inventory levels start to rise and start to elevate. I gave you just now, not too long ago, some of those markets that inventory is starting to rise. So definitely take a look in those markets. And if you're not seeing anything on that market that is compelling or allowing you to move forward, then go look at what the builders have to offer. Right? You'll be quite honestly, you'll be shocked to see that some builders have something that that you may be able to take away, and you can actually take a little bit more away because they're offering you incentives and helping you, but even maybe offering you a mortgage rate that's a little bit more better for you. So pay attention to that. What else? What else? What else? I think that's really it. I mean, definitely pay attention to what's going on regionally, because that's really going to be your go-to. What goes on regionally is going to be huge for you. All right, looks like I'm here by myself. So if you stay to me to this point, I'm about to drop you a huge gem. I'm going to drop you a huge gem intentionally because it's all about the trends. Let's see. Trying to see how big can I make this gem. Okay, I know what to show you. I know exactly what to show you. So if you stay to this point, don't ever say I don't share anything that you have never seen before. Look, I may not be I may not look or be as smart as you think I am, but trust me, I know some things. I know some things. So what I'm about to share with you. Take a screenshot of it, save it, make sure you share it with your lineage. I'm intentionally not screaming because one, I'm about to lose my freaking voice. But I really want to share the importance of the thing I'm about to show you. All right, let me stop talking. Let me go full screen with this one. Yeah, this one needs it. Screenshot this. I'll explain what it is. So this here has been around for quite some time. As you guys can see, you're going to see periods when to make money. All right. Now, how accurate is this? This is all about timing. Nothing is really going to be accurate. I think, if anything, this can help you prepare yourself for anything that may come. Right. This is going to help you understand when should you prepare yourself for opportunities that other people were not prepared of. And like the Warren Buffett says, right? Or I forget who says it, when there's blood on the streets, that's when you enjoy, you have fun, and that's where the money is really made. So here we see A at the top of the line. The top line is A, but middle line is B. C is the end, the last line. C is hard times. B is like years of, high prices. A is years of panic. Okay, let's look at what's been going on here, and you guys can see it, right? So years in which panics have occurred and will occur again. So as you guys all know, 2020 was a panic. All right, so 2019. So this one miscalculated it, but chances are, if you sold at this point in time, whatever it is that you sold, right, and this I know pays a little bit more attention and time to stocks. But what happens in stocks is I should say 9 times out of 10 going to happen in real estate. Because I mean, what happened in 2020 was completely different in real estate, right? But a lot of individuals, what you'll find is they use stocks to fund their real estate purchase. So if you sold in 2019, you were able to literally, based off of this here, you were able to catch the top, sell at the high, and then literally buy at not all time low, but the low for that decade at this current moment, right? Who knows if we'll see another low? But that's what you see. Then here it looks like 2016, right? And then 2023, which I think in 2022 we experienced a low. So now the next high they're anticipating, right? 2026 to then drop back down to and go through I guess a rough time in 2032 to then go all the way back up to 2035 and have I guess another panic attack, whatever the case that is. But hey, don't ever say I never shared a gem that was well worth your time. All right, because that gem here, that's something that I operate with and I use quite often as a reference. So if you saw that, everyone else that didn't stay to that point, just when I was dropping something. But no, if you caught that, if you stayed to this point and you caught that, let me know in the comments. Then I'll know you're a real one on a real serious note. But hey, I'm not feeling the greatest right now. I know I had to do the stream just to let you guys know. As I mentioned, reach out to me. Go to my website. Go to either Let's Chat or the contact. Fill out that form. That way I can get in touch with you. Or you can just simply email me and we can go ahead and have that dialogue of whatever it is that you need help with or you need to help navigating. You were able to get the trends that I would say pay attention to. Of course, you can look at other stuff, but if you really want to focus on the major ones, this entire stream was all about that. As I mentioned earlier in this stream, if you missed out on it, next week I probably won't be here. It depends on what is going on in real estate. Everything I'm seeing right now, news wise, they're just repeating themselves. Right. So I'm not going to continue to, just jump on the stream and just repeat myself. Right. I want to be able to give you guys some sort of real value that you guys can go ahead and take away with. But if there is something alarming, just know I will schedule the stream and I will be on and we'll go ahead and discuss it. But with all that being said, y'all stay blessed. Y'all have a blessed week. Stay safe. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Continue to prepare yourself if you're not already doing that. And be intentional with this so that when things do turn, you can find your way into the real estate market and take advantage of what real estate does have to offer. But with all that being said, man, y'all have a great one. Stay blessed.